there, internet. How are you today? So I was just scrolling through YouTube, minding my own business, when all of a sudden Ben Shapiro's sister started scolding me about what I should wear.
More men will think of you as a sex object if you dress like one than if you dress like a lady.
How I should maintain myself.
Classic means tradition refined. It means elegance and being poised, and rejecting the idea of modern feminists, which is you can dress however you want, you can dress slovenly and never wash your hair, and every time is wine o'clock, and not taking seriously how wonderful it is to be a really feminine woman.
Girl, don't you worry. I washed my hair today all for you. I washed it all for you. And also, she told me not to hook up with people anymore.
Hello, beautiful ladies.
Hi, Abby.
And welcome to today's video, where we're going to be talking about why you should stop hooking up.
Okay, I do really like that she started off with a compliment. I do like being complimented. It makes me feel good. But this did not make me feel good.
Stop hooking up.
You know, those eyes. Looks like she's scolding me for doing bad things. She's telling me to stop hooking up. And I'm like, Abby, don't you worry. I take the lockdown very seriously. There is a virus going down, so believe you me, I'm not hooking up with anybody. I have not touched anybody. When I see a different person in my general vicinity, I turn around and I walk the fuck away. I'm not hooking up with them. I'm not talking to them. I'm not going to look at them. I'm not going to make eye contact with them because I do not want this goddamn virus. And yet, the way that she presented this video, I still feel like I'm being yelled at. That just doesn't make me feel very good. It hurts my feelings.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
So I learned in one of Abby's previous videos in which she bravely came out of the closet as a conservative.
So much of the time, it feels like one worldview, one position is tolerated.
What viewpoint is that?
If you're a woman in 2020, you've heard you need to be empowered. You do you. The patriarchy is holding you back. Sleep with who you want, when you want. But this is a bunch of lies.
You do you? Live and let live? What the fuck? No, that's not okay. So she very bravely went against the grain in which we tell people that it's okay to be who you are, to live how you are. As long as you're not hurting other people, you can live your life the way that you see fit. And she thinks of that as just one viewpoint, this acceptance of diversity, of being non-judgmental towards other people. We should be more tolerant. We should be more accepting of her viewpoint, which is my way or the highway, correct? Well, actually, I did watch a different video in which she said that classy does, or was it classy, classical, whatever, doesn't mean being perfect, in which she said this.
And I definitely did things that now I regret, which is why when I make a video like ladies stop hooking up, it's not from a place of judgment. It's from a place of I understand the pull to do that because I did it myself and it definitely didn't make me happier. It's something that now I can look back on and recognize how much of a mistake it was for me to do.
Okay, so she wasn't coming from a place of judgment.
Maybe you want to have sex because, hey, it's fun. You know what's not fun? STDs, pregnancy scares, waking up next to someone you have no emotional connection with, and wasting your time.
I don't know if Miss Abigail has heard of these devices. They're called condoms.
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die. Don't have sex in the missionary position. Don't have sex standing up. Just don't do it. Promise? Okay, everybody take some rubbers.
And I have to say, in that video about how classical doesn't mean perfect, she came off as significantly more likable than she came off in this video because she wasn't telling us what to do. She's just talking about herself and she's talking about her own experience and she's being more vulnerable, and I think that that makes her more likable, but also because she knows nothing about what it's like to be me. She knows nothing about what it's like to be you. She can only speak from her own experience, but she does make the mistake of like projecting her experience onto other people, which by the way is very limited.
So I grew up in a religious home. I was pretty sheltered at the time and I didn't spend a lot of time facing situations where I was going to have to put my values to a test. And it wasn't until I left home for my master's degree in New York City that I actually did come face to face with things that challenged my faith, challenged my beliefs, and challenged my values. And I struggled at the time. I really did.
So she only recently started interacting with other people who believe different things. She only just recently got exposed to that in the last few years. How am I supposed to believe that she has enough life experience to then tell me how it's best to live my life, you know? But anyway, let's get back to the video, shall we?
Maybe you want to hook up with a guy because you care about him and you don't want to let him get away. Sleeping with him is the easiest way for him to take you and your feelings for granted.
Okay, so hooking up is wrong because you might not actually want to hook up with that person. You might just want to be in a relationship with that person. And then hooking up with them is just some consolation prize. Yes, I guess I would agree with Abby that within that specific context of you don't even want to hook up, you want an actual relationship and you're settling for something less than you actually want. That's bad. That's bad in any context. I think that if you want to eat pizza, go to a pizza parlor, go where they sell pizza, but you can't go to like a burger joint and then complain about how burgers are gross and leave negative Yelp reviews on the burger joint just because they don't sell pizza there. No, you get your ass out of there and you go to the pizza parlor if you want to eat pizza. But if you see people eating at the burger joint, you don't just tell them, what the hell are you doing here? Don't you know that there's a pizza parlor where you can eat? Pizza is so much better than burgers. Why would you even waste the time that you are spending eating a burger is time that you could be spending on pizza? No, like some people just like they intentionally went to the burger place. They know that the pizza parlor is there. They might respect pizza. They might want pizza a different day, just not today.
Holding out will tell you whether he's willing to wait and will tell him that you're worth waiting for. I've seen it happen before.
Oh, she's seen it happen, but as we've established before, very limited life experience. I believe she's only 26. She got married at the age of 24, and she only got exposed to these different viewpoints when she was in graduate school. What the hell did you see in that very small window of time? I've seen it happen where people rush into marriage when they're not ready to get married because they want to have sex and they feel very guilty about feeling lust, feeling these sexual urges, and they feel that getting married ASAP is the best way to solve that issue. My friend was dating a Catholic guy when she was in high school, and she was completely freaked out one day, and she was like, guys, you know that Catholic guy I was dating? He told me that he wanted to marry me as soon as I turned 18. My first question to her was, is he waiting until he's married to have sex? And she was like, yes. All of the sexual frustration just came out like, yes, he is waiting until he's married. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens sometimes. I'm not saying that waiting until you're married is always a bad thing every single time. It can be good for you. There are billions of people here on this planet. If you want to wait until you are married, I 100% support you. I would never criticize that. That is your decision. It is your body, your choice. There's definitely pitfalls when it comes to hookup culture. There's pitfalls when it comes to waiting until you're married. There's pitfalls, whatever you do. So I just think that it's better to be aware of the potential pitfalls. But yeah, my friend was very freaked out that this guy just wanted to rush headfirst into marriage ASAP. And back when I was in high school, I was living in Texas, very conservative. I just mentioned to, I think it was my government teacher, that I don't really see the point in getting married. If you want to be with somebody, be with somebody. If you want to break up, break up. No need to involve any legal paperwork, sign any divorce papers. Just, you know, live your life without getting married or getting divorced, you know? He did not agree with my point of view, and he said, but Brianna, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? She makes this argument.
Holding out will tell you whether he's willing to wait and will tell him that you're worth waiting for.
I don't think it's that important, but whatever. I'm not looking to attract any men, but That's just me though. But anyway, a guy will see your worth if you don't have sex with him right away. A kind of guy who would think less of me if I had sex with him is not the kind of guy I would want to marry or have any sort of relationship with. I don't want his respect for me to be conditional on whether or not he's having sex with me, whether or not he has to like jump through certain hoops in order to have sex with me. So to answer a question of why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free, I don't want somebody to see me as just this living, breathing milk machine. I want them to see me as a person and not as somebody who they would never consider marrying if they could have sex with me anyway. Like, marriage is such a big decision. It's such a big commitment. I don't want sex to factor into your decision about whether or not you should get married. You should get married because you're ready to make that commitment, not because you want to get laid.
Maybe you want to have sex with a guy you really like and can see having a future with. Hooking up with him could mask all of the problems in your relationship that would lead to your eventual breakup and just prolong the inevitable. Sex will only muddy the waters and prevent you from making a clear-headed decision.
It will only muddy the waters. It will only be negative. This is such a black and white statement. It could muddy the waters. It could potentially muddy the waters. It might not.
You know how you crave ice cream, but if you ate ice cream all the time, your healthy lifestyle would go out the window? It's the same with sex. That healthy lifestyle you want disappears when you have sex with anyone and everyone, wherever and whenever. There's a reason that women who wait until marriage to have sex are happier on average than women who do not.
Oh, there's a reason why. Let me find out why. Let's look at the article that Abby just flashed by. This analysis merely suggests that sleeping with fewer partners is correlated with marital happiness. It doesn't say that one predicts the other. Moreover, this analysis is not peer-reviewed. It's just a blog post. And Wolfinger acknowledges that. That's the guy who wrote the blog post. Because of a quirk in how the survey was worded, some people reported one partner might have meant one partner besides my spouse. I really think that this chart is interesting. As you can see, men are a lot happier than women in their relationships. A man who has had 2 sexual partners is about as happy as a woman who's only had 1 sexual partner. So that's interesting how that happens. And also men who have had 6 to 10 partners are about as happy as men who have had 2 or 3 sexual partners. They're more happy than those men who have had 5 sexual partners. She says like, oh, there's a reason, and then doesn't provide us with that reason, just flashes by this article. But the article itself doesn't actually give us a concrete reason as to what the correlation between fewer sexual partners and a happier marriage is. It doesn't separate, how do I say this? Okay, say you've had 10 sexual partners, right? This survey doesn't separate people who've had like 10 sexual partners because they had 9 exes and then the person that they married being their 10th sexual partner versus somebody who has cheated on their current partner with 9 other people. Maybe they're unhappy in their relationship, therefore they are cheating. It says here, the researchers are speculating. It's not like cold hard data why people with fewer sexual partners have happier marriages. They're speculating on what the causes could be. Sociologist Philip Cohen says, you could have had a lot of sexual partners, not because you're good at sex, but because you're bad at relationships. Again, say you've had 10 sexual partners. One person could have had 10 sexual partners because they hooked up with 9 people. They were not looking for a relationship and they were fine with that because they got what they wanted out of those relationships, versus somebody who's had 10 sexual partners and each and every one of those sexual partners, those were all relationships. Maybe in all of those relationships they thought, oh, this person is the one for me. I'm going to marry that person. I'm in honeymoon stage. Everything is perfect. I love this person so much. And then they get into their first argument and everything goes downhill from there. because they don't have like the communication skills to work on their problems. And so those relationships have failed. The issue isn't about sex or no sex, because you could still have that problem with not having good communication skills because you didn't try hard enough. You didn't have good problem solving skills. You didn't communicate your problems. You would have those problems regardless of whether or not you had sex with them anyway. Yeah, so this article doesn't give you a cut and dried answer. And it even says that it's not really hurting relationships. Most people have reported having a happy marriage. So then you still have your good chances of finding a good marriage. I do think it's interesting that the article that she flashes by, married people who've had fewer sexual partners are happier than those who have had more sexual partners, because the statistic that I kept on hearing over and over and over again growing up was that people who wait until they're married to have sex, they tend to stay married longer. They're less likely to get divorced. And I always thought that that was silly. One, correlation does not imply causation. But also when it comes to divorce rates, I always thought, well, yeah, that's because people who believe that it's wrong to have sex before you're married also believe that it's wrong to get divorced. I don't know about you, but if I were Anna Duggar, if I read those police reports about Josh Duggar, divorce, I would for sure divorce Josh Duggar. Wouldn't feel bad about that. I would divorce Shay Carl. I would divorce Sam from Sam and Nia. I would divorce Ted Haggard. But also, people in arranged marriages, they tend to have very successful marriages. They tend to not get divorced as much as we do. Does that mean that we should stop dating and we should only have arranged marriages? No, we should look at like, oh, what's going on with their culture? Maybe heavier stigma when it comes to divorce. Maybe when you marry somebody, you marry their family. And so marriage is not just about those two people, but about like the two families coming together. And that might affect whether or not you get divorced, but also having different expectations going into marriage. So they might be happy within their marriage because it meets their expectations, but what I would want out of a relationship might be completely different from what they want. And they're happy because they're getting what they want, but what they want for themselves might not match up with what I want for myself. So that has to be taken into consideration. Anyway, okay, so what else did Abby say?
A good guy will wait for you, no matter what. A bad guy won't.
A good person will wait, a bad person won't. So one of my issues with what she said here is passive morality. The idea of being a good person isn't about how kind you are, how loving you are, how respectful you are. It's all about whether or not you can keep your genitals in your pants. So I used this clip before from the movie Chocolat.
Do I want to speak of the miracle of our Lord's divine transformation? Not really, no. I don't want to talk about his divinity. I'd rather talk about his humanity.
As you can see, the context for this clip is that the priest is giving an Easter sermon. I know that Abby is Jewish. As somebody who was raised Christian, we focused a lot about how Jesus lived a sinless life. He didn't make any mistakes, and he was a good person because of that. So I do really like how in this Easter sermon, he said that he wanted to focus not on things that he didn't do, but on what he did do.
I mean, you know, how he lived his life here on earth. His kindness, his tolerance.
And then he made this even bigger point about how we shouldn't judge ourselves based off of what we don't do.
I think we can't go around measuring our goodness by what we don't do, by what we deny ourselves, what we resist, and who we exclude. I think we've got to measure goodness by what we embrace, what we create, and who we include.
And that's really what being a good person is about. It has nothing to do with whether or not you wait until you're married to have sex with people.
A good guy will wait for you, no matter what. A bad guy won't.
It depends on what context you mean that in. Do you mean like a bad guy is somebody who wants to have sex with you before you're married? Do you mean like won't wait until you're married or won't wait before you're ready, because then I definitely would agree that he is a bad person if he's going to try to pressure you into having sex with you when you are not ready to do that. It is wrong whether you are married or not if somebody is trying to pressure you into having sex when you're not ready to have sex, if you're not in the mood to have sex, you just don't want to. But all of those things could happen to you if you get married. One of my issues with purity culture, there's this idea that you have to live your life in this specific way, and if you live your life in a specific way, then all of these problems won't touch you. You will have a nice guy who will respect you because of course he respected you. He waited until you were married to have sex, so that in and of itself proves that he respects you. Guys, it's definitely possible for you to wait until you're married to have sex, and maybe that person doesn't actually respect you as a human being at all. Maybe they think of you as property. Maybe they don't think that marital RAPE exists because you're his wife. You're supposed to have sex whenever he wants. There are definitely men who are willing to wait until marriage who still don't respect their women, and I think that it's important to acknowledge that too. It's important to acknowledge that there are men who they have premarital sex and they're not horrible. They treat women with kindness and respect. And there are definitely men who do wait until they're married and they don't treat the women in their lives with the respect that they deserve. One last thing. I want to bring up the comments. People are very annoyed that she keeps on advertising her videos, but I thought this one comment right here from Amira was very interesting. Listen, I'm Muslim and also waiting for marriage, but I'm not going around telling people what to do with their lives. It's wrong and not in good faith. I get so sick of other religious people being so judgmental of others. Just worry about yourself and be kind and respectful.